Hi, everyone. Hi, Benoit. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Alexei.
I'm so excited to speak with you today. I'd love to. We have 15 minutes. We'd love to keep it short and sweet. For those of us that are not aware of what Vivino is, can you give a brief intro on Vivino?
Yes, very briefly, Vivino is essentially a crowdsourced information repository for wine. So it's a large community of over 50 million users who just rate wines, contribute their ratings and their reviews on all sorts of wines, hundreds of thousands of different wines. And it's a place where people can go to find out more about specific wine, whether they're at a restaurant or in retail or online, and they want to know what a wine is worth and what it tastes like. This is this crowdsourced information system, and obviously, the way we make money is by monetizing this information on one side, and also by powering an e-commerce activity, a marketplace that we run that is being enriched by all this information we have. So it's at the core, an information system is really what Vivino is all about.
Nice. And I've been a heavy user of Vivino. I've been actually called for bottles that I thought were good, and then people were using Vivino to check me out, and I got burned like this. So I'm very familiar with Vivino. And I think you've achieved massive growth, and a lot of it is really internal, sort of organic growth. Um, I know that you're very heavy on personalization. Can you describe, how deep you go in personalization, and do you have some examples to share with the audience?
Yeah, so personalization is at the very core of what gives us an edge as an app and also as an e-commerce player. It manifests in multiple ways for us. Obviously, one of the immediate things is as people tell us what they like and how much they like individual wines, and we can also see their activity in terms of which wines they scan and which wines they search, they view on the app or on the website. We learn about their tastes, and as we learn about their tastes, we can start personalizing the wines that we present to them. So I would say level zero of personalization for us is powering recommendations and being able to be more targeted in our recommendations and in the communications we send. So that's a big piece of it is merchandising and personalizing the merchandising, which wines we present. CRM activity, like sending less messages and being more relevant in our communications. And the third piece is from a marketing tool perspective, particularly for things like retargeting, being able to retarget people with the right sort of wine, with the right sort of proposal at the right time. And so really narrowing down on this to just improve our conversions and improve our return on investment for the various marketing activities we have.
And what is, I know that one of the things that a lot of advertisers are doing is they build a creative strategy, and then they share this creative strategy among all the channels, and they really reuse that same idea, that same concept. And I know that you guys do things a little differently. How do you view a channel, and how, what do you think about how do you think about personalization at the channel level, the geo level? Like, how can you really dig deep into how you think about that?
Yeah, I think first of all, there are different levels of capabilities by channel. So, there's some things that we've been doing for a long time, for example, on Facebook around targeting and, audience modeling and this kind of stuff to really try and put in front of the audience the right wine based on their specific individual profile. It could be different sort of based on wine style. It could be based on individual products. It could be based on cart abandonment and things like this. So there's some channels where we can go really deep and be very granular. Some channels where on the other end of the spectrum where we're much less targeted and focused, and I would put probably AdWords, SEM, sort of on this front, where in our product category in particular, being alcohol, we're very limited in the amount of information that we can actually inject into Google to do this personalization. So that would be the other end of the spectrum where we're not as targeted as we'd like. And then some emerging channels where we're starting to be much more specific. We started, for example, with you guys at Addictive, with a broader approach, but now we're introducing, more specific retargeting, wine style, specific products, cart embodiments, these kind of stuff. Same with Criteo, we started with a bit more of a general approach, and now we're refining our targeting and our retargeting criteria more and more as we go. So I would say, depending on the channel, the capabilities are a bit different. Overall sort of goal for us is still to try and be as relevant, as personalized, as timely as possible. So that's where we see the biggest return and definitely the highest conversion rates. That's the number one thing that drives the higher conversion rate for us is how targeted we can be. So the more we can be based on the capabilities of the individual channels, that's really what we're trying to push.
And that's interesting because and that's a great segue for what I wanted to chat about next, which is, you mentioned you started sort of broad, you're narrowing down, and it ultimately begs the question of how do the importance of holistic marketing, the importance of really sharing one story. And I know that this is something that's really important to you. Can you share with us how do you see that user journey from a holistic marketing standpoint?
Yeah, it's super critical for us. And I would say, we're probably only part of the way there. Like, we have a long way to go in terms of telling a more integrated story. The interesting thing with Vivino is a lot of people join Vivino or know of Vivino for really the utility aspect of the app. You scan a bottle of wine and there's a bit of this magic moment where you scan the bottle and then you see all the information pops up. The wine is being recognized, you see the score, you see the price, you see the, all those reviews, taste characteristics, all this stuff. So that's really interesting. But that's a very different experience from how we make money for the most part, which is by, the commerce activity and the marketplace sort of activity in particular. And so for us, what we're seeing is, as a result of the fact that those two activities are pretty distinct, pretty different, there's a lot of upside, that's a positive way to put it, in just converting our users better to being customers. And
we call this untapped opportunity.
Untapped opportunity, exactly. And so it's, we have this giant reservoir basically of people that we have yet to convert. And the way for us to really convert them better is to tell this more holistic story. So one of the things that we started doing with great results so far, really sort of a, multiple X improvement in conversion is on the onboarding of users. So with new users in particular, sorry, Alex, did I lose you a little bit?
There you go. You're back now.
Okay,
I'm back. I lost you at an untapped opportunity, and then we lost track.
Oh, okay, my bad. So what I'm saying is a big opportunity for us is to better convert our users into buyers. And we're saying that when we actually really take the opportunity to tell our story from the start through an onboarding process of new users in particular, this conversion happens a lot more naturally. And we're, multiple times better at converting our new users. Now that we set in place this onboarding flow, we're much better at converting those users to buyers than we are with people who otherwise are not really told this more comprehensive story of what we do, what our intent is, what our proposition is. So the idea will be for us through, not just at onboarding, it's a prime opportunity for us to inform our users, but also through all the different touch points that we have with our users. Like, how do we reinforce the same story and tell really our, express this value proposition in a more comprehensive way, in a very consistent way across all these different touch points. So yeah, big opportunity for us to continue to improve on this, but we're seeing some early signs through onboarding in particular that this really pays off in a big way.
And that's really interesting because a lot of the partners that we talk to, they ultimately struggle to find the right balance, and some are very focused on, lower end of the funnel, really direct response. I want a conversion within 3 days, 7 days, period. And there's a struggle because that pool is limited until or unless you actually grow that top funnel, and then the top funnel is harder to measure as well. Um, and so what goals do you typically have for, top of funnel awareness? How do you keep track of whether that's good spend for you? Obviously, assuming that it's going to convert down the line, but how do you keep a shorter time frame on that?
Yeah, so as you were talking about this, like multiple thoughts that come to my mind. So I'm trying to like organize them in a logical way. The first thing I would say is one of the things that's quite unique about our business is just the size of the pool. So the top of the funnel is kind of a very organic, natural growth sort of thing that we've enjoyed for a long time. So to give you an idea of the order of magnitude, about 500,000, 500,000 new users are just showing up every month, downloading the app and installing the app. So we don't really have, and there's more we're going to do to even increase and accelerate the top of the funnel. But really, one of the big opportunities for us, once again, is we have such a big top of the funnel that really anything we can do to convert better towards the bottom of the funnel is a very high ROI for us. We haven't historically had to worry that much about continuing to feed the top of the funnel just because we have so many people at the top of the funnel that are coming in. So for us, a lot of our marketing activity and marketing spend has been indeed on the bottom, sort of the lower part of the funnel, which is converting those users into buyers. But we're finding that if we have a much better chance at converting them, to my point earlier, if we actually inform them from the very beginning of their journey on what really we can provide. So this more holistic approach, really pays off. This being said, there are some big opportunities for us to also sort of, build up the influx of top of the funnel sort of users. If we can target the right users, those can really turn out to be really high value, high lifetime value customers at the end of the day. And to do that, what we're really focusing on is building some predictive models that really help us predict earlier on what the lifetime value of these customers is going to be based on how they're acquired, based on their early behavior on the app, for example. Really trying to associate, without waiting sort of a year, associate an LTV that informs our marketing investments and help us sort of allocate more or less resources to acquiring specific type of users at the top of the funnel. So we kind of bridge the uncertainty of investing on the top of the funnel, which we need to do more of. Yeah. We bridge that uncertainty with this predictive modeling that helps us predict how people are eventually going to behave and how they're going to convert. Yep. While at the same time, certainly putting a good amount of our investment on the lower part of the funnel because that's where we see the direct ROI. But with the right predictive modeling, we're able to now predict where it makes sense for us to invest in, earlier stage, like top of the funnel users, because we know how they're going to convert over time.
And that's what I really wanted to touch upon. We have only a few minutes left, so I really want to touch upon predictions that you're making. How is what are you predicting exactly? You're predicting what they're buying, how much they're buying, what wine they will like, and so what sort of elements are you using to predict that, and what are you predicting essentially?
Yeah, so in terms of the type of predictive modeling, there, we do, I would say, 2 or 3 sort of different kinds of predictions here. One is just the lifetime value of these customers, of these users, of these customers. What is their likelihood to buy over an extended period of time, their frequency of purchase, their AOV that they're going to be purchasing at. And for us, the takeaway is how much cumulative contribution margin we're going to generate for these customers over a certain horizon of time. And right now, because the business is still relatively new, we're just setting an arbitrary limit of like a 12 months prediction. So we're trying to predict what is going to be our cumulative contribution margin of these customers over the next 12 months. So that's one part of prediction. Now there's another part of prediction that is more specific to and relates a little bit more to what I was saying earlier about really retargeting and making sure we match users with the right products. And that's more predicting the likelihood that a certain user, given their taste profile, is going to buy a given product. And using that to filter the communications and really augment, if you will, the signal to noise ratio, where instead of just blasting a ton of communications hoping that something will stick, we've been able actually over the last couple of years to dramatically reduce the volume of communications per user and still increase their revenue per user. So this, finding this optimization where we want to maximize revenue, but we also know that there's sort of an equilibrium that needs to be found where if you email too much, just the noise, becomes overwhelming. If you email too little, you're leaving some money on the table. So trying to find this, this ideal balance to maximize kind of signal to noise ratio. So that, I would say those are probably the two biggest types of predictions that, we're really focusing on.
Nice. And it's interesting because in the app economy, we actually run a lot of predictions similar to you for apps that want to know if you like app A, will you like app B? Similar to wines, essentially, your product is wine, other products are apps, but it's a very similar approach. I want to be cautious of time for everyone. I did want to ask one last thing. I've heard rumors of an opt-in rate that is quite high on Vivino compared to a lot of the apps we're talking to. So I'd love for you to share, what that opt-in rate is and why do you think, even if it's anecdotal, what do you think? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, so the main thing, for us, obviously, like everybody else, I think, was a good amount of anxiety around the 14.5 sort of rollout. And we've seen the opt-in rate, for us, sort of settle around, close to 40%, 37.5%, which I think is, really speaking, high. We'd like it to be higher. But I think the reason why it's so high is people see the value, in the app and kind of understand that the more information they share, the more valuable, the more trustworthy the recommendations and the more value the app is going to become for them. So having this sort of direct, intuitive relationship for people between their willingness to share information and the quality of the output that they're getting, I think is really what drives this up. And the thing that we enjoy from our users in general is just a high level of trust that we're not meddling with the data. We're not manipulating ratings, for example. It's a very democratic sort of egalitarian, society where everybody has equal voice when it comes to their ratings. And so basically, we're trying to empower people with this equal access to information and equal access also to contributing to this information, to this pool of collective intelligence. So far so good. It seems to stick pretty well. I mean, we'd love to
I'll send this link to some advertisers who are having 4% opt-in rates, and I'll ask them to watch the chat.
Great.
Benoit, thank you so much for joining today. I'm really glad we were able to chat, and I look forward to our next sessions together. And I wish you the best of the weekend, and bye to everyone else watching as well.
Thank you. Bye, Alexei.